Oh, she can combo out of her crush trigger.
Into the same Oki situation. Yeah, so
Oh.
it's just continually looping that Oki over and over again. So they just can't take it anymore.
What is up, y'all? KRC Pinto here. Welcome back to Secret Sauce, another BlazBlue Central Fiction episode today. And very special guest, the recent winner of Frosty Faustings 14, Monarch. Monarch, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, Pinto. How about you?
I'm doing great. Really looking forward to talking about Lambda today because I actually super struggle in this matchup, so I'm hoping I can learn a little bit here. This character is oppressive. Just oppressive.
Oh yeah, which puts you in the corner. It's hard to escape, definitely. I feel you on that one.
Well, we're going to do the double-edged duty today of showing people how that works so they can either overcome it or inflict it on people, but it should be a good time. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I always like to start off with the elevator pitch for a character, you know, like their one-sentence sell. So sell me Lambda in a sentence. What does she do?
What if we want to transition powerful zoning into full screen corner carry mix-ups off of one hit? That's Lambda in a nutshell.
That's such a scary sentence.
I know, right? For this lower mid-class tier character, it's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's 4 hits and you're 2/3 of the screen away, and like that's not even doing the knockdown into like the gravity seed or the sword from underneath. God, this character just terrifies me so much. Yeah, that was full coast to coast there.
Yeah, really. Off of any hit, no exaggeration.
Man, that's wild. Well, I mean, you know, that's about as good as it comes with elevator pitches. Like, you can't really do much better than that. What's your favorite move of hers and why?
Oh man, okay. So, unfortunately, New no longer has it, but Spike Chaser is like one of the cheapest moves in the game to me. In previous versions, it would go full screen, but even what we have now is just such an impressive tool because with the way Lambda drives work normally, you're picking positions on the screen based on what you feel the opponent might do. But with Spike Chaser, you're covering multiple options at once.
Yeah, that looks like the ultimate approach killer.
Yeah, it's not infallible. Like, as the defending character, like it just covers so much screen space, and the way you have to counter it if you're looking to just beat it out cleanly is really high risk. Yeah, see, like in most situations, you have to be really, really on point. And in the heat of the match, if they're spacing it properly, it's difficult to surmount, absolutely. Because the hitbox kind of lingers for a bit, even after it fully comes out. Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, that looks brutal. I mean, I can definitely see how this would be, like, really good to have in the pocket with how much airspace she already controls. Like, definitely don't want to be, like, jumping because you're going to get, like, caught with those random swords a bunch. Like, now you've got the whole ground space covered. God, this character.
Exactly. It's like, if you don't know which version or which angle of the screen you want to cover, Spike Chaser is never a bad option.
Yeah. Okay, let's use this to transition into what her drive does. So every character in this game has a drive button that does something unique to them. Hers, she chucks swords around. So why don't you walk me through how this works, you know, what you use it for, all the good stuff.
Sure. So, of course, we have 5D, which is the standard sword ground poke. It doesn't go full screen, but it's pretty close to full screen. People are running at you. This is the button you want to do. Call them out.
That follow-up's automatic, right? The little second one that's coming out?
Exactly. So that's kind of one of the weaknesses of this character in comparison to New, is that whereas New can delay the follow-up sword to frame trap any attempts to like jump out or even ID, with Lambda it's not really a mix-up for her full screen. It's just a matter of it's just automatic pretty much. It isn't a big deal though, because she also has the low echo, so On hit or block, she can do 5D into full screen low, or 5D into 4D, which is a full screen overhead.
Oh, the 4D sword's an overhead?
Yes,
Oh,
it
jeez.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is probably like the basic ground mix-up. When they're grounded, you do 5D, 4D, or you can do 5D full screen low.
What would be the counterplay? You just block high no matter what and try to react to the Rekka?
Yeah, basically you would want to like guard. Yeah, I would say guarding low is the preferred option, and then react high. I think 4D trips people up both mid screen and the corner that way. It's better to look at her animation while she's doing it because it's really deliberate, as opposed to looking for the sword directly. Because in the corner, for example, you can't see the sword, right? So there's no other reference than to look at her animation to see what sword she's doing.
I'm very quickly realizing why I lose to this character all the time.
It's hard, right?
Off-screen overhead's always fun, right? That's so sick.
It's super cheap. Let's see. So then we have options that cover aerial spacing. So that's 6D. Yeah, this is the main sword you want to cover. You want to use to cover air approaches. Very large screen space.
Yeah.
Air dashes, super jumps. It covers practically everything. Let's see. With super jumps, though, yeah. Just generally a hard sword to escape in general if you're in the air.
Right, like even if that whiffs on that like super jump back, like there's not a lot you can do to punish that depending on the character, right? Like it seems relatively like a safe thing.
Absolutely. Air drives in general have pretty bad recovery.
Oh.
I want to say, yeah, the average. Oh yeah. Like whiff swords are like 40 frame recovery for most of them.
Oh, geez.
It's a very long time. Yeah, you don't want to whiff with this character, not at all. But if they're at this spacing, where they're like full screen to half screen, it's generally fine. You can retreat, get some more space, try it again, but. Yeah, 60 is a good option to cover air approaches, and what's even better about it is that I can record it properly. Ooh. On counter hit, it gives you great confirms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we discussed earlier, like generally any confirm will give you full screen corner carry. So you get counter hits actually. Same with 5D too. The counter hit on this move is actually really good. It's a very long time, so you can do things like. Yeah, so.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Dude, your combos are so wild because like it always looks like it's over and it's not. There's just like crazy amounts of hits done on so many like distinct parts of it. Like I always think it's done and it's never done.
I think that's why Lambda is so unique in comparison to New, is that her combo game is really well fleshed out. There are a lot of options to mess around with, and it's not limited in that you only can do a few things. You can like mess around with building blocks and opt for more corner carry or better OP. It's very freeform dependent on what you want to do with the character and like to your taste as well. Definitely a lot of variety in general.
So the drive, you get to, cover a lot of different angles with her various sword projectiles. What happens when you switch into overdrive? How does it change?
Oh, so the swords get bigger. You get more hits done with it. I think one of the bigger things you want to use it for is like combo conversions. Because, for example, when you do something like 5D into a jumping drive, the opponent stays grounded. But when you're in overdrive, however, they lift with you.
That
So you
looks
get better
so wild.
designs. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think this is a better example, probably. Her, what do you especially get for closing out rounds and like bursts of high damage? Like her double super, for example.
Jeez.
Yeah, so if you need to kill them, overdrive is definitely the way you want to go.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me see. Oh, one more important thing. So this is a reversal super. A lot of reward on counter hit, of course, if you land it that way. It's a more Oki as always, but the important change in overdrive is that it tracks the opponent's location.
Jeez.
So if you need like full scene with punishes, this is definitely the way to go as well. I think the only shortcoming is that it only tracks horizontal space. So if they're like high in the air, oof, even that's too high. And there we go.
Yeah,
So
so
it won't
that's
always cover higher ranges.
so that's not gonna work if you have like a Kokinoe doing the graviton stalls up in
Right,
heaven.
or an Izanami
Yeah.
player. But still, for what it's worth, it's a very strong with punish tool.
All right, so let's talk about let's talk about neutral with Lambda, which kind of where she shines. I guess she shines in a lot of spots, but neutral definitely one of them. What do you do in neutral with this character? What's like your approach to playing the neutral game?
So, as we discussed earlier, whiffing drives with Lambda is really, really critical. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid it at all costs. And so, I try to play a more reserved way. You can't always be reactionary with swords because, despite how much range they cover, they still have a lot of startup attached to them. So you want to do low risk options like set gravity, and then use that space and extra time to make guesses based on what the opponent is doing. So if you think they're like advanced forward with Hell's Fang, for example, you can use like 5D once gravity is down to take advantage of that and counter hit them. Or if they jump, use 6 speed calling out that way with the same principle. Generally, though, if you fight someone for the first time or you don't know how they're going to approach the ground game, Spike Chaser is, again, never a bad option. It's my go-to for sure, just to see how they'll react.
Let's expand on the gravity well move real quick. What is that doing?
Oh, sure. So when that's on the field, it slows movement speed by about, I think it's 20 or 30%. But regardless, it slows everything grounded. So run, step dashes, even teleports. It slows movement speed by about 20%. So when someone's running at you while this is down,
Okay.
yeah, it's a very big difference.
So it sets you up to be able to punish something they're doing a little cleaner, like lower risk.
Right, exactly. And so you're using that extra time basically to either get more space for yourself or make make your sword reads more safe without committing too hard. Um, in general, though, it's also a good option to just cancel front drive moves safely. Uh, it's one of those shortcomings Lambda kind of has over New is that when you're doing drive pressure from full screen, your options to continue it either involve you going in with Rekka or canceling into special moves. And so gravity is like a good safe way to reset that pace, look for more openings, things along those lines.
So let's see, we're using gravity. We're trying to do like educated guesses with the drive swords, doing our best not to whiff. You've got the grounded wave of swords to cover a lot of space. So is this more of like kind of like trying to make them come to you and make a mistake type of neutral rather than like just peppering them with crap?
Exactly. So you want them to make a mistake like doing a reckless run-in or a well-telegraphed air dash. Anything that gets you the hit so you can corner carry them, basically. As we discussed before, anything along those lines will result in full corner carry. And so all you really need basically is that one opening to start your game plan on offense. Uh, let me see.
Would you say it takes a lot of patience to really play her right in neutral?
Absolutely, yeah. I think you described it as peppering them with swords. She's not like New, where you can just use drive over and over again, and that can be the focus of your mix-up. You have to like play it in a more offensive way. Basically, I mentioned that when you connect with drive, you're kind of forced to special cancel, and so another option you can do, for example, is use wheel, because if they block that, that gives you an opportunity to set up a mix-up in your pressure game as well. Yeah, so between those options, you're basically looking for that one hit as you start that mix-up into the corner, and then you can go from there.
So let's talk about, let's say they block the grounded wheel, whatever they end up blocking that lets you close the gap and get in. So she's not just a zoner, she's pretty powerful up close too, right? She's got some stuff to make you sweat. What do you like to do to people when they are unfortunately stuck blocking you at close range?
Oh man, so I like a mix of TRM setups and 6B. Her strike throw is pretty good. Once they're blocking you can kind of go for the throw mix-up. You know, whiffing 5A like this calls out barrier throw OS. So I think starting pressure with throws and just figuring out how they defend against throws is a good way to figure out where they are in a defensive mindset, because if they're heavy on throw OSs, you can just, do things like delay throw. Or if they're the kind that just wants to up back and use the fuzzy jump, you can call that out with 6A defensively. Catch them in jump startup. Yeah, generally throws are strong because, again, no matter where you are, you get full screen corner carry. So throws are a good way to start off your offense. in a not too risky way. Of course, if you're more about like mix-ups in general, 6B is a good option to start with.
6B is an overhead, correct?
Yes, it is. It's a bit on the slower side, but the animation is really ambiguous looking. It's not super telegraphed for an overhead in a game like this. So if you're not relying on it too much, it's a good tool to do. I'm not too over reliant on it because some characters can punish the recovery. I forgot the exact frame data, but it is punishable in certain situations. A better way of putting it is that unlike most characters who can special cancel their overheads or even like have normal Gatling tables where they can do overhead into another normal, Lamb doesn't have that option itself. Once you do 6B, it kind of just ends there. There are no cancels, so you're forced to give up offense.
So that's your overhead, but it's not always the move. Like maybe like a sparing kind of choice when they're adjusting to the other stuff.
Absolutely. Like, I think sparing is a good word for it. Sprinkle it in there every now and then, but if you go too hard, it's pretty exploitable.
Something I see people do sometimes with her is I know she's got a command dash that can be used fairly deviously up close, if I'm not mistaken, right? You can do that like kind of straight into a grab, or you can like cross up with it if you space it correctly. Do you find yourself using that very much?
I'm glad you brought that up. I do actually, and there's a good reason for it. So when you do something like 5B, of course you can special cancel to things like Gravity or Spike Chaser, but this is advancing move right here, the Rekka, is the go-to layer 1 option because it frame trap. They can't mash out of it, they can't jump it, and so of course once they block that, you can either go low with the sweep or high with the overhead. This mix-up is too powerful by itself, but the reason why establishing this is so strong is that, as you mentioned, we have the other version of it, which is just the command dash.
It's so fast.
Right, like... And so, since they're conditioned to not mash on any teleports because of the threat of the Rekka, I think mixing in 236A to teleport as an option is strong because they're expecting Rekka, right? They can't mash Rekka, so they wouldn't mash teleport.
Right, makes sense. And then back around when they start looking for the dash to mash on it and you hit them with the Rekka frame trap, then you're hitting them with the Rekka frame trap.
Exactly.
Brutal.
There's so many ways to layer that option too, because even if they can recognize that teleport is mashable, and the difference between the frame trap and the other version, because they're both kind of fast, so even visually it's hard to react to. But if you could, she can still have the option of special canceling into 2-2D. Yeah, so on both normal teleport and Rekka teleport, you can special cancel into other specials, basically. And so, if you're looking to target MASH in particular, you can immediately cancel into 2-2D, keep yourself safe, and also still have some semblance of offense, basically. So...
yeah. And then here we are right back in the corner. Good lord.
Where we started, yeah. I think the Rekka version is even faster. Yeah, like...
Jeez. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, it's such a unique thing to see like someone who just on paper looks like such a zoner have like this many movement options, this many mix-up options, and like the steady pressure, like can make her own plus frames like relatively easily. Like, man,
it's really overwhelming.
It's so versatile.
Yeah, as the defender in these situations, it's just hard to really have an idea with finality of what the opponent might do, because there's many ways to misdirect as the aggressor. It's a really strong trait that Lambda has for sure.
So when you're playing like you play this game at an extremely high level, the top level. Like, what do you have like a preference between these? Like, do you like to like kind of keep this almost like half screen, 2/3 of the screen pressure going, like the 5Ds into a mix-up and kind of back off and go back to that? Or do you prefer to like, kind of stay up in their grill and do that kind of stuff up close? Like, how do you think about this pressure? Because it's weird because she kind of constructs it from like two different angles. Like we've talked about like a couple different pressure sequences that are based on screen location almost, which I think is kind of unique. So what do you think? What's like your go-to between these things?
About full screen distance, personally, the issue with half screen and even mid range is that like because of long recovery on drives, you don't want to guess wrong with your options, right?
Right.
There's a lot more leeway when you're at full screen, and even here, you aren't losing too many of your ways to start offensive pressure because you can still do things like 4D into wheel or 4D into full screen low. The reward might not be as great as if you were in mid range, but I think just the ability to transition full screen pressure into close range pressure like this is merit on its own. Yeah, with a character like this who's built with a lot of recovery on her moves, on the lower end of HP, I generally want to avoid taking risks as much as possible, and so just standing at this range and controlling screen space until they either make a mistake or get hit is a good way of starting pressure at higher levels.
That makes sense. All right, let me pivot this question a little bit. When let's say like they're gonna block it no matter what, where do you like prefer to have them blocking between like what we talked about from afar, where like they guaranteed block the 5D and you can come in with like the Rekka type mix-ups, or like they block and you're in their face and you kind of have like 6B or like kind of like a throw OS bait, like which between those situations where they're 100% gonna block, which one do you like better?
As in, they'll block the mix-up for sure.
They're gonna block
They're
gonna block the 5D or like the starter up close, but then you get to do a mix-up, like whatever you're gonna do. Like which one do you think like has the higher success rate, like the further out mix-ups or the in the face mix-ups?
Oh, between drive usage?
Yeah.
When you're in their face, about this range, it's riskier, but you also have a few more options. Like, for example, the Rekka overhead Spada, it wouldn't go full screen entirely if you were, like, at this spacing. But if you're, like, around here, then you have the benefit of doing, 5D teleport throw, 5D low, or 5D cross-up overhead.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
definitely more options to consider.
Let's talk about this character's Okazeme, because this is another part of this character that's pretty damn strong. So, we've highlighted that you're going to the corner no matter what. Lambda is the A train. She's taking you to the end of the line. We're hanging out in the corner, and she has some pretty mean Oki tools that give her a lot of advantage. So walk me through like your mindset when we're doing an Okazeme setup, like how you're just never gonna let them play the game again when you get to the corner. What do you do?
So there are a few options, but the main one is Spice Chaser Oki, right? When they block this, Spice Chaser on meaty is like super plus. I should roll. So once that's out, you can either go low with 2B. A favorite of mine is 4D, because when you dash in, it still hits, but you're running at them, so they think, oh, he'll 2B, but then it's like, no, it's an overhead, it's off screen, so a lot harder to see. There's Crush Trigger too.
Can she combo out of her Crush Trigger?
Yes, she can. Let's see.
Oh, she can combo out of her Crush Trigger.
Into the same Oki situation. Yeah, so
Oh.
it's just continually looping that Oki over and over again, and so they just can't take it anymore. Yeah, you can go low, high, Crush Trigger, throw setup, anything you want to do.
That spacing you're setting up to do the Spite Chaser, that like makes it completely reversal safe, right? Like you're like far enough away,
Yes.
they can't do anything. They have to hold that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about it, actually, is that unlike other Oki situations in the game where it might be a strong setup for a good mix-up, players can still interact with it, right? You can either try to mash out of it or reversal, but with Spike Chaser, you can't really do anything like button presses because you're just so far away and it's so meaty. On the topic of disrespect, though, it isn't entirely ironclad. Yeah, so as the defender, like we were saying, you can't really mash out of it. What you can do is alter your tech timing against it. It's really hard, but
You going for like a delay tech to find like a window in there?
there it is. It was right there. Yeah, so if you delay hard enough, the inball carries over, and you avoid Spike Chaser entirely.
But you got to get it like right when that third sword's coming up, so you miss the
Right,
third
it
and
has to
fourth.
be perfect.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
That's why most people don't do it this way, because if you mess up, it's really costly.
Yeah, so you have a way out, but you have like a 5% chance of success. Jeez.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, so you can do it that way. The idea will cover really not meaty, but again, because you weren't blocking Spike Chaser to begin with, it's still a lot less advantageous than if you had blocked, right? So it's a hard timing to do, but I think it's worth learning consistently. Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly.
Nice, that was sick.
Of course, there's counterplay to this, right? It's all dependent on how the Lambda player uses Spike Chaser too. So if they delay it, then you in turn have to delay your tech timing as well. So if they wait like that, then yeah, you can't really tech through it anymore because you're out of iframes to neutral tech.
Jeez.
But on the flip side, because they delayed it, you can do this. Right, Tsubiki, so actually.
Yeah, I got time to do something out of Wake Up there. But I mean, eyeballing the difference between whether or not they delayed it, it looks like it's a pretty like tough window. Like I guess you could do that, but like I mean that seems pretty difficult.
No, for sure. The safer option is definitely blocking it, but at higher levels, people definitely challenge their tech timings and just how they react to this Oki in general. Yeah, you'll see a lot of people at that level like get hit by Spike Chaser raw because they try to tech through it or quick tech like this example, for example. It's risky, but again, to what we put in a situation where you're looping plus frames like that over and over again,
Yeah.
challenging it is hard, but still worth it if you want to avoid the situation. So there is some counterplay to 2140. It's difficult, but it is there, and it keeps her honest in a way.
Is that like your primary Oki setup? Do you use any other ones besides the Spite Chaser stuff?
Is the strongest Oki at her disposal because of the way it's difficult to disrespect, but there are other variations of it. For example, you can do wheel like this. So you're closer to them, which gives you about the same mix-up opportunities. A few differences. You can do like, you know, TK, Crescent. A favorite of mine I kind of stole from a player called Tyhena is when you cross over like this.
Oh, this is a wheel pull him out of the corner when you jump.
Yes, it does. So.
And then they can see the other corner. That's really nice of you. See more of the screen.
Yeah, right. It never ends.
Man.
The reason why you don't see this option in comparison to Spice Chaser is because they can essentially no tech it. Yeah, so if they don't tech it, there's no Oki, right?
Right.
It's not the end of the world, though. I still do it sometimes just to see if they tech it or not. And if they don't, you're still safe. You can do Spike Chaser again, and you have Oki again.
Neutral's good. Pressure's good. Oki is just phenomenal. That's a lot of perks. So let's talk about maybe the exclusive weak point here. What do you do on defense when you're playing Lambda? What's your approach to playing D with her?
Oof. Well,
there it is. Finally.
On the unfortunate chance you're forced to block, you might be in block zone for a while. So without meter, your only option is really 2-2D. This move is very divisive, both as the players and as the opponent, because it's kind of a reversal, sort of a reversal. I would call it a reversal, in my opinion. The caveat here is that it has invul, but only about 5 to 6 frames. So what that means is by the time the move fully comes out, it's no longer invul. So you have 5 frames of invul to work with, right? So if the opponent is pressuring you with moves that aren't too active, like 5As or 2As, right? There's a slight gap to use that invul to escape weaker pressure like that. However, you saw it here kind of. Even with moves that are like more abundant in active frames that are a lot more meaty, like 5Bs, 5Cs. 2-2D has no chance, basically. It's just too active. The move is too active, rather. And so you can't mash 2-2D in pressure looking for an option and hoping that they might mess up. It's more of a read, right? Like, if you think they'll go for a throw, you can use 2-2D to counter the throw, or, again, if you think they're going to use 2-way, you can kind of look for an escape in that way. But if they know about 2-2D, they're probably going to use moves that are a lot meatier to, like, call it out without hard reading it. And so, in those situations, you have to rely on your defense, right? Ideally, if you're in pressure for too long, you're looking for openings to either IB, get meter back, and any natural openings in pressure as well. If you're fighting characters like Kokanoe or Lychee, where there seemingly is no gap, the best you can hope for is 50 meter for counter assaults. And even that has inherent risks, right? Her counter assault is a little risky because the hitbox on it isn't the greatest. It's low profilable. Right. So
Whoop.
yeah, even in those situations, you can't always rely on it. You have to make sure that what you're counter assaulting is a move that will get you out of the situation that you're dealing with. Because that can happen to you. It will with you will die. It'll be for nothing, unfortunately. So you have to keep that in mind, of course. If you're feeling riskier, however, you have Calamity Sword, of course.
And that's the reversal super, right?
Yes, fully invol. Option worth going for every match too, even if it is risky, because when you're cornered like this on counter hit, you can side swap, right? So
Just always find a way.
yeah, so even if it is risky, it's a way to like reverse the roles essentially, right? You can transition your defense into offense again, and it's a risk, of course, but if you can do it, then you're out of the corner and you're playing the game again. Yeah, fundamental defense is a key component of playing this character, I think.
She has a pretty good 6A though, doesn't she? Like anti-air. Like if you see them come in hot, isn't her 6A pretty solid?
Oh yeah, if they're air dashing at you, 6A is really, really good.
Just have like really good invul on it or something. Because it doesn't look that big.
It's not that big. It's the invul, as you said. I think it's about 5 to 16 invul. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a lot of invul frames to work with. Of course, the size is definitely of note. The main issue with it is the fact that it's good for horizontal approaches, but not vertical ones. So, when you're fighting characters like Jin, for example, who have jump-ins that are like vertically inclined. Yeah, you can't really use 6A there effectively because the spacing just isn't where it needs to be.
Yeah, it looks like at best he's kind of involing through you and then he's on the other side.
Yeah, so in those situations, you have to like be creative, dash under, low profile with 2A. But besides situations like those, 6A is a pretty reliable anti-air for air dash approaches, which is probably what you'll be dealing with most as Lambda. People jumping in at you, right? So it has uses there, for sure.
Alright, time for the fun part. So, the show's called Secret Sauce. I need you to show me your sauciest Lambda combo. I don't care if it's like an optimal one you would use in a match, or if you have something in your pocket that's like crazy styling, but just show me a combo that you love. Let me see it.
You know what, here, maybe, let's see. Show you a few cool ones.
Ooh, end in the gravity Oki, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
This is probably the most optimal overdrive starter. It's hard to get in the match for me because depending on the character, the link right here, 5D40 into Spike Chaser, like that. It's really space dependent, so you can't always do it depending on who you're fighting against.
Yeah, I see.
That's a cool one.
40's falling short a little bit there.
There we go.
I love that. Some sweet loops, double super, a taunt in the middle. That's exactly what I wanted. That's what I needed. Thank you, Monarch.
Hey, glad I can deliver.
Monarch, if someone came to you today and said, hey, thinking about picking up Lambda 11, but, I'm on the fence about it, I'm not quite sure, what are you saying to them to push them over the fence? Why should someone play this character in BlazBlue Central Fiction?
I think I would tell them the main point of the video we've covered many times is that if you want to convert any hit you get into Oki that can be disrespected very easily, it's hard not to look at this character in a good light. Spike Chaser Oki being plus a billion while covering multiple tech options and being reversal safe is a quality you won't find in many characters in this game. Again, there are characters with strong Oki who can also loop it the way Lambda does, but I think being able to loop it the way Lambda does while also not being as interactive with it is the trait that most people can really get around. If you're into like set play heavy characters that also have zoning tools that can oppress them. I think the other big part about it is that this character really isn't that difficult to start with, to say. Like, she isn't execution heavy. You don't need a lot of technical knowledge to advance with her at a starting point. It's a lot of matchup knowledge and game knowledge, but of course that comes with learning any game, right? Yeah, I would say stability, simplicity, and consistency is a good trait that Lambda possesses.
Well said. Yeah, versatility definitely on the table. A drive that's easy to understand, which is not always the case in this game. I think that's big time. And yeah, she's just she's got a lot going for her. Like a lot going for her. Just don't whiff a sword and don't let them hit you. It's like,
Please don't get
that's
it.
it. I mean, that's what you want to do anyway. You don't want to whiff or get hit with any character. So those being the only things are like, you know, that's fine.